call the finance meeting to order. I did. All right, guys, we're calling the finance meeting to order at 11:01. And Sherry Williams, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can I get a roll call, please? Oh, sorry. Why do I always have such a problem with this? Got it.
Berkowitz, Butler, Ortiz, Axley,
Yes.
Trainier, Winfrey, Newquist,
Here.
Williams, Richmond. We made quorum.
We do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum because you have Mr. Richmond and we have Sherry.
Yeah. And Joe, go ahead. Let me turn the mic on for you. Okay.
Thank you, Sherry, Chair Newquist. Just on the terms of quorum, I had mentioned this earlier today. I just want staff and the folks here at our committee meetings today. We do have a lot of, close to half of our board is out in DC at the NACO conference, National Association of Counties. So we are a little bit light on quorum. So we do have our leaders filling in, and everyone that is missing on committee has an excused absence since they're doing work for the county. So just wanted, in case folks notice that some of our members aren't here. So thank you for allowing me to explain that.
Thank you. Okay, approval of minutes. Can I get a motion? Roll call?
Ortiz. Axley,
Yes.
Newquist,
Yes.
Williams. Richmond. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, old business, RNG facility financial summary. Take it away, guys. And thank you for coming back. Oops.
Sure. We'd like to start out with some good news today. Greg's going to pass out our monthly report for February.
Thanks.
Our February production was very good. We had about 68,000 MMBTUs, essentially the gas unit we use to measure and sell gas and the renewable energy credits or RINs that we have. And we had 68,000, about 600 MMBTUs. The revenue, estimated revenue, this is gross revenue, was about 1.1 million for February. So that's a great month. That's one of the better months we've had and over the last few. Greg, do you have a breakdown of what that 1.1 is? And then Greg's going to go bring us through the memo that's up here.
I sure do, Dave. So thank you for having us here. I'll say hello. So the breakdown for February, and after we do this breakdown, we'll go back to the history of 2024. It's kind of split up in two ways. The gas we sell is sold by MMBTU and by RIN generation, and essentially for February, about $580,000 of sales came from our initial gas sales, and then RIN generation afterwards was at 549,000. So together we have about 1.129 million. Kind of what that means is the first part of our sales is pretty solid. We have the way the pricing is set up, doesn't really move very much depending on the market of the RINs. And then the second or the last third is where it fluctuates a little more. So we did very well this month in February. One thing to note is February was a very short month. And given that it's one of our better months, that's a good sign for things to come. So, and so starting with that, we can move forward to our presentation. So I'll be presenting the 2024 year in review, and we'll cover gas production, operational challenges in 2024, some key achievements and improvements, kind of anticipate trajectory for this year. And the final section will encompass the 24 expenses and revenue summary. So I see some new faces here. So I'll give a little explanation about what the RNG plant is in case you're not familiar. Some of you have visited the site before. RNG owns Prairie View landfills, most of you know. At that landfill, oh, sorry, Will County owns the landfill. At that landfill, there's an RNG facility, which is a renewable natural gas facility. At this facility, we take in the natural gas that's created at the landfill that would have otherwise been flared and destroyed, and we process it for that. We process it to natural gas specification. We sell it. But essentially, it goes through a pipeline, which Will County also owns, to a major pipeline, and it's sold at that point, and it's a revenue source for Will County. So that's the short of it. If anybody's interested in seeing the landfill or seeing the RNG plant, please contact me. I'll be happy to give you a tour if you haven't been there before and explain it in more detail. So gas production. The unit of measure we use is MMBTU. It's a British thermal unit. The reason I'm talking about thermal units, that is our direct link to revenue. That's the product we sell. As we all know, gas prices fluctuate. So using this unit is pretty good representation of how the plant is doing. In fiscal year 2023, I'm going back a little bit, we had a total production for the year of about 729,000 MMBTUs. In 2024, we're actually decreased, as the first page there, down to 660,000. So that's, we'll talk about that a little later, what happened there. Another figure to look at is plant runtime, which is the time the plant is running and sending gas to the pipeline. And, you know, this plant does not shut down unless it needs to go down for repairs. It runs 24/7, 365 days a year. It's consistently running, or, you know, that's the schedule at least. So what, how did 2024 go? Last time we came here was back, I think, in August or September of last year, and things were looking pretty good. So we'll cover some of the challenges from back then and then the second half of last year. Late in 2023, going to 2024, some of you may remember we had challenges with our coolers for our compressors. What happened with that is that the coolers were too small. We were working with the developer. We ended up getting them replaced under warranty, and that occurred in April of last year. So that was a big reduction of production in the beginning of 2024. Later in 2024, starting in about August, middle summer through the end of 24, the landfill itself underwent a construction event. During that construction event, they were adding soil and waste to the top layer, and when they had to do that, they had to take a number of wells offline for an extended period of time. Wells are our life source for fuel. That's where we get our fuel from. And if I remember correctly, about 15 to 20 were taking offline for extended period of time. And once that happened, we had a decrease of fuel coming in, affecting our production. In September, we had a 10-day pipeline shutdown. Now, this is the pipeline that we feed into for Midwestern. Midwestern is the main trunk that kind of follows the corridor from like Kentucky or Tennessee to Illinois and up the I&M Canal in that direction. Some of you know that Will County has its own pipeline that feeds into that. That line was shut down for 10 days for hydro testing, and we had to shut our plant down for that amount of time. So we have lost revenue for that chunk of time as well. Throughout the area, we had some feed compressor motor failures. I'll address that in the section here in a minute. But essentially, once our major compressors were shutting down, we had motor problems. They're large 1,250 horsepower high voltage motors. For some reason, we had a run of 3 fail, and that caused some issues as well. And then towards the end of last year, we had an issue with our nitrogen removal system with specifically some valves. That was kind of interesting. It was one of those needle and haystack problems. So you have to look and look and look and try to figure out how to fix it. And then I think we had that. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, some key achievements and improvements. So despite and as a result of these challenges, several improvements were made. The compressor coolers I mentioned were replaced under warranty, and since they've been installed, they have been working as they should, and that is no longer a problem. So that's in the back. The wellfield construction project was completed. All the wells that were taken offline are back online. And as a result, our input of gas has gone up, netting better numbers for the gas plant, like the February numbers show. The valve issue we had was kind of interesting one. We had one of our vessels has silica media in it, and it was found that the silica beads were flying around in the pipe. We had to lower the level bit, but that was causing problems with the valves. This took about 2 months to figure out. It was a problem that was never experienced at any other RNG plant before, and it was one of those challenges that took a while to resolve. But one of the reasons we lost some production from that is these valves were diverting gas to our flare. So if we had 100% production gas going to our pipeline, with these valves failing, about 5-10% were being burned off in the flare. There's nothing we could do with that until we had it fixed. But that has been resolved. We increased our spare parts inventory. That's very critical because a lot of these parts have lead times of 8 to 12 months at times. So if we have a part fail, we cannot wait that long to replace it. So that was one of the growing pains the first 2 years here, trying to figure out what parts actually fail and you need to replace. When the plant was constructed, there was a list of spare parts inventoried, but that's different than what you see actual life when you start running the plant and things fail. And that's kind of what we developed this past year. And I feel good we're at a point where we have what we need, at least significant parts to keep our runtime up. Last time we were here, we discussed some winterizing of the plant. There was some, we have very cold weather here in the winter. Half of our process equipment is outside, and cold weather does cause problems. So we invested in insulating and repairing and updating some of our winterization and heat tracing for our components outside. That we had a good result from that. This past February, we had that that little week where we had sub-zero weather. We ran flawlessly that whole time. That's the first time it's ever happened. That's great news because that's the issue we had years past. So that was a successful addition there. A few other good things that happened. We had a pipeline inspection. Things went well there. We had no issues found. That was by the ICC, Illinois Commerce Commission. We also had an annual insurance inspection with good results. Had a few things we had to add, but everything's looking well. Next door to our RNG plant, we acquired the previous gas to energy facility, which used to house generators that processed the gas before. We will be using that for storage for our main spare parts. Thank you. One of the projects we had was to run permanent electricity there. It was connected before, but not in the manner that was correct or suitable. So we had that adjusted and fixed and taken care of. And we also had a video surveillance system installed. So we have security cameras and recording of the facility. So projected trajectory for winter, spring 2025. We expect landfill gas volume to increase. One of the things that is going on this spring is the landfill operator will be installing gas wells. Installing pumps through the gas wells, which will increase our production. I don't have a percentage, but it'll a few hundred CFM, which is a good number. It's getting us to where we need to be. We had a media exchange on our H2S vessels in January. And then during that downtime of 3 days, we did major maintenance tasks to try to prevent downtime during the rest of the year, or at least the beginning of the year. Next section, we have some expenditures. I'm not going to go through this whole list, but if you look at that list, it totals about 809,000 for the year. This is a combination of, we ordered parts in 2023, and many of them were realized in 2024 because the lead time was so long. By the time they showed up, they hit the 2024 budget. So in this list, you'll see major components: feed compressor motors, blower motors, some subcontract charges. These are the charges in here aren't part of a routine cost. This is out of routine charge that we did experience the year before, and we shouldn't happen again. So they don't reoccur every year. So in summation, some numbers here. So 2024, our total expenses were about 11.5 million for the plant, which includes debt service of 4.6 million. Then that's operating expense about 6.9 million. Total revenue for the site was 9.34 million. And in the end, we were in a negative about 2.1 million. After that, we have some data here comparing 2023 to 2024. You can take a look at that, but I'd like to go to this chart here. That's perfect right there. What you see up on the screen there, that is a chart for 2024. The black line itself is our production. It's production in MMBTU. And I took the liberty of adding major failures or issues we had and challenges in those green boxes. And you can see every time we have a major challenge or some kind of mechanical issue, it does cost us production. So it's kind of gives everyone an idea of how, how it affects our plant every time we have something go wrong. On the top right section, you'll see WM Wellfield construction event. That's the wellfield event that the landfill did where they took the wells offline. And if you kind of drew a line across the top section in March, April, and May, that line should extend straight across. But since we lost volume, we lost production, and that's kind of one of the reasons we had lower revenue in 2024. If you go on to the next chart or next graph. So this is a chart I'll be presenting for the rest of 2025. And it's a comparison chart. It's the same thing we just saw in 2024, but I'll have in black the production of 2025 and in red how we compare to 2024. So it'll give us a real simple just visual on how we look compared to last year. And one thing to note, February of this year was that cold spell right at the beginning between the I think it was towards the end there, between the 5th and the 19th. And we were running just about 100%, which is that 2,500 mark of MMBTUs. As far as I could foresee right now, we don't have any major issues or anything planned to repair. We're in a good place to continue producing gas, and whatever challenges we have pop up, we'll fix them head on. Oh, that's all I have for this presentation. There's also a slideshow if you want to go through that, or I don't know, is it in here?
What do you guys do? I think we're good.
Okay.
It was really thorough. Thank you.
I wanted to be, because we haven't been here for a while, so I want to share as much information as I could. So
Does anybody have questions? Okay, I think we're good.
okay.
I take
Sure.
that back. I have one quick question. So do you think that February will be, what do you anticipate? Are you annualizing based on February at all, or is February kind of an anomaly because it ran so well?
Well, anomaly depends how long the
Yeah.
time frame is. I won't say it's anomaly. It's where it should be.
Okay.
And I don't have a crystal ball to tell
Yeah.
whether
Oh,
any
clearly.
big things will happen, but the major challenges we had, we fought and we've gotten through. And this plan is complicated, and it's one of our directors mentioned it's like a whack-a-mole. Sometimes you have things pop up and you have to knock them down, and as time goes, we build institutional knowledge of how things work and how to repair things and how to operate. And we're becoming, very proficient, but it does take time and it's a lot to deal with. But I feel pretty confident we're in a good space right now. February is a good month. We should have good months going forward. I really want good months going forward.
Okay,
And that's the way I feel right now.
thank you. Jim, hold on, let me turn your are you 8? Oh, there he is right there. I'll get the hang of this one of these days.
All right.
Go ahead.
So based on what you've seen in February, are you expecting this year to be net positive revenue?
That is a loaded question. I think it's possible.
It's a question that has to be asked.
Yes, it is. If you look at February, we're about 1.26 for gross revenue. We figure about we average out costs for the year where it costs us about 8.5 to 900,000 to run the facility. So as long as and that's including debt service, as long as we could keep it above that 850 to 900, we could be net positive. I believe it's a good chance. That's my goal, and I'll do everything I can to make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, bear with me 1 minute. Okay,
Thank you, Sherry. Earlier today, we had a discussion on our facilities, and we have a company that works well with our facilities manager that keeps an eye on expected life expectancy of certain parts. You mentioned that the pipeline had shut down for 2 weeks out of our control for whatever testing purposes. Is there a chance, and I extremely hope they do, let you folks know that they will be going offline and you'll have a date for that? And then if that's the case, do you have a plan to do preventative maintenance while you know your plan is shut down?
So we did receive notification, and probably I had a phone call and said they were considering it, and they failed to. Well, they notified us 2 weeks before the shutdown, so we did have 2 weeks, well, maybe a week and a half, to prepare and do maintenance while we were down. We should have it earlier next time after my discussions with them. But
It sounds like you weren't happy with the 2 week notice and you're
No,
asking for a
no, I
longer
wasn't.
period.
and there's a loss of communication on their part because they had my information and everything, and there was no online place to look it up. We're waiting for their call and we didn't get it. But I complained a bit about that, and they were saying, well, they'll make sure to tell us next step. I don't think we expect one for 5 years. If I'm not mistaken, 3 to 5 years.
Okay. Thank you.
For that.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on. County grant update, Samantha.
Hello. So those of you who I haven't interacted with directly, I believe most of you have, but my name is Samantha Markham. I am the grants coordinator for the executive's office. My role is to work with the various departments in regards to their grants, as well as secure grant funding and maintenance for the executive's office. So I provided in your agenda packet a grant update. I am not going to diminish your intelligence and read through it, but a couple of things that I will point out is the alternative fuels initiatives. As I've mentioned before, these are a direct correlation to the 2021 Energy Conservation Plan that was passed by the board. The first initiative is to establish an alternative fuels plan. This document is going to provide support to municipalities when they move towards alternative fuels. So this will help guide infrastructure and what necessities they need to make those changes. We secured grant funding for that. We are at a 70.5% completion of the grant expenses thus far. So we have a $560,000 grant from IDOT, 70%, just over 70% of that has been expended, and the project is nearing completion. We expect the plan to be completed by April. We are currently in the process of reviewing the last draft documents of the plan, including a fleet analysis and assessment. The staff is creating and finalizing an executive summary, and we're wrapping up the plan to ensure all the needs and outlined tasks have been addressed. So again, that will hopefully conclude, target is April. The next aspect of the alternative fuels initiatives is to implement some of those things recommended in the energy conservation plan. One of those is EV charging ports. So we secured funding, $100,000 from EPA to offset the cost to the county for that infrastructure change. The Driving a Cleaner Illinois Climate and Equitable Jobs Act grant, we entered into an agreement in December for that grant. That is available. The term of the agreement ends in June of 2030. So we've got some time to do the infrastructure changes that we need. The grant includes, the scope is for 20 EV charging ports at 2 different locations. So 10 ports per location. One will be here, and then another one will be at the courthouse. Then as other opportunities become available to offset the county's expense and responsibility for EV initiatives, we are continuing to seek grant funding. So that's something that obviously we are trying to make the county's responsibility as minimal as possible, be respectful to taxpayers' dollars. So we're seeking additional grant funding. Moving right into CDBG, we are currently in the middle of CDBG reviews and recommendations. The board just met last week and approved the recommendation for a project award for the Housing Authority of Joliet for the construction of 3 rental units in the Squares Mill subdivision. So you will be seeing, as a board, you'll be seeing that recommendation for final approval probably in April. So be aware, the county board, you'll be seeing that in front of you. At the top, I just gave a little bit of program year 23 accomplishments. So when we say providing decent affordable housing, reference to that would be 58 households received housing rehabs. We're talking about 2 group home units were rehabbed, 24 homes made affordable by DPA, 110 households supported with rental assistance, and 93 households provided housing counseling. When I reference suitable living environments, I'm referencing 1 neglected property was assisted. 4,719 people benefited from a water sewer improvement project, and 2 community centers received improvements. 525 homeless residents were assisted. 171 abused, neglected children received services from Guardian Ad Litem, which is through the CASA grant that's funded through CDBG. When I reference expanding economic opportunities, I'm referencing 9,875 residents receiving emergency, I'm referencing community gardens mostly. 42 community gardens received growing supplies, 12 gardens received supplied fresh food to pantries. 2 gardens were created or expanded, and 127,000 pounds of fresh food were harvested in program year 23. And then finally, when I refer to prevent, prepare, and respond to COVID-19, we've heard so much about COVID-19, and we think that we're on the other side of that. But in program 23, we dedicated multiple funds to various aspects that were defined as COVID support. That includes 304 homeless residents received medical care and shelter. 1,209 seniors received well-being services. 858 residents received healthcare screening. So that's just a little bit of context for you on that. CDBG, the application for program year 25 will begin soon. So the workshops will happen, there'll be a workshop one day during the week of March 24th through 28th. That hasn't been secured yet. It'll either be a hybrid or in person. Again, that hasn't been defined yet. So if you know anyone applying for CDBG funds, the applications are going to be open soon. And then there's a workshop to walk through all the steps and the eligibility. And again, that'll happen the week of March 24th to the 28th. Also at the meeting last week, the advisory board approved a 5-year set aside for a Southeast Joliet Sanitary District project. So just be aware that's probably going to be something that'll be in front of the board, just to put that on your radar. And then another of note, I made a comment last time I updated the board in regards to the Fairmont Sewer System Rehab Project. The division has entered into an agreement, an IGA, and the project will begin soon. Phase 1 will be starting soon. The $1.1 million project has been fully funded. So it is funded by CDBG funds, and they've secured DCEO grants to offset the cost of that. They expect phase 1 to end in the summer of 25. Don't know how long the rest of it's going to go, but that's a little bit of an idea. Let's see. The other aspect is you may have heard about the Safe at Home program. That is something that was managed by Senior Services. It has been discontinued. The county recognizes the importance of assisting those who are in need of help paying for rehab to their homes. So the Community Development Division is going to be applying for a grant through the Illinois Housing Development Authority to pay for a pilot program that would essentially do the same thing that the Safe at Home program did. It's again a pilot program, and the grant application is due in March. So another aspect of another grant funded program that I'm involved with is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, ERA2. I wanted to make the board aware we have stopped accepting applications for the ERA2 program as it stands with the federal ERA2 funds. And that's because we've exhausted or we've obligated the full $16 million. So we have throughout the program itself assisted 1,874 unique households. Now, unique households are defined as counting one household, even if they've applied for multiple types of assistance or have applied multiple times. So we've assisted that many households. The average amount of households that receive assistance, how many months they receive assistance for, is around 3.8 months of assistance. So that can be rent, current rent, rent arrears, utility and home energy, current and utility home energy arrears, and other types of housing assistance. And the predominant category of assistance that we have worked with residents on is rent arrears. So if someone is late or behind on their rent. We've are 95.4% of completion on the project itself in terms of payouts. We have this next quarter, the quarter 2 of this year, we anticipate to finalize all of the reporting aspects and work into closeout. Future plans for this program for funding will include cannabis dollars. And then the division will reduce their scope to address the most vulnerable population. And that's defined as those individuals or households earning under 30% AMI with a balance under 10,000 and pre-eviction, as well as income eligible owner occupied households facing eviction due to arrears in HOA fees. So that has been identified as a most vulnerable population, and that's where they will limit their scope to address. Moving right on into the cannabis retailers occupation tax initiatives. The county board has allocated $557,000 in the cannabis tax dollars for fiscal 25 grant programs, the child care provider and the small business non-for-profit grant. You have probably received a flyer in your mailbox. I did bring a couple extras. The child care provider grant is live right now. We are accepting applications. As of today, we have 12 applications that we've received. Last year, we had over 130. Now, before you are concerned about the number of applications, more than 50% were received in the last week. So Just so that you're aware, we received over 70 applications last year, just in the last week, and the applications are due March 14th. So if you know of any childcare providers, please let them know about this opportunity. The only requirement is that they are a DCFS licensed childcare provider in Will County and they serve 0 to 5. That's it. So if you know of any childcare provider, any daycare licensed provider by DCFS, please let them know they can apply. Grant values or awards are anywhere from $0 to $10,000. So for a small organization or a small operation, $10,000 is a substantial support. So please let them know that they can apply for this grant opportunity online at willcountyillinois.org. There's a whole page on the child care provider grant on how they can apply. If they need any assistance with navigating Amplifund, my contact information is available. Last year, we were able to award 25 grants for the program. And we're continuing again to work with Birth to 5. They'll be doing the scoring to maintain a objective, non-biased scoring. And then the last program that I just wanted to draw to your attention is the We Will Grow program managed by the Will County Community Development Division. The grant funding that they have received or they allocate through their own budget, as well as the waste management funds, the additional 50,000 allocation. That is this year, fiscal year 25 is the last year that $50,000 will be received from waste management. So with that additional funds this fiscal year, they are expanding or they're continuing rather, their training programs that they initiated last year with the increased funding. The 2 training programs that they mentioned are providing the youth an opportunity as well as expanding the knowledge of composting within Will County. So they've had success with that and they're going to continue that with this funds currently. And then they will sunset for 25 and they're evaluating other funding sources so that they can maintain or expand those trainings in the future. Are there any questions?
That it? Thank you very much. Judy, hold on one second. Let me, where are you? Right there. There we go. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. And I don't remember this, I'm sorry. How much cannabis dollars are we looking to put into the ERA?
That has not been determined yet.
So how do we decide we were putting cannabis dollars into it?
Well, they had received cannabis funds in fiscal 24. And so they would hope that the continuation is. That's what their plan is.
Oh,
It's
they
not,
hope to.
obviously it's a plan.
Okay. I didn't know. Okay, my next question is, so we had 125 applications last year for the Will County Child Care Provider. And this year we are up to 12 and you expect a lot
Yeah.
more.
Yes.
I get it. People do that all
Yeah.
the time, right? So my question is this, do we also look at like where the applications are coming from in the county? So like, and could we get like information on that? Because maybe everything is coming from just Sherry's district because she's going door to door knocking, right? So if we could see where it's coming from, then we could say, okay, well, we're doing really great here, but in the northwest part of the county, we didn't have any applications. That could be because they're not interested, don't need the funding, or maybe we need to do a better job at looking there. So if we could get that information, I think
Absolutely.
that would be helpful.
Geographical information was provided last year, but this year we also expanded that to include county board districts. So that information will be available once the applications and the awards are
Perfect.
available.
Perfect. Okay, and then the other thing I had was years ago, long before you were here, Samantha, we had a consultant who did our grants, and we always got an update of these are the number of our grants we've applied for, and these we're still waiting on, like what the status was. We didn't get this one because grants are wishy-washy. You could win it, you don't win it, depends on how you fill it out. Do we have any other grants that you've applied for that we currently don't see here? I mean, these were awarded to us or we've awarded these grants to other groups. So, because there are dollars, cannabis and such. And do we have that information? Can you get that information?
I guess I would need more context as to
Well-
who's we?
So we be in the county, okay? I
Okay.
assume in your role as the grant administrator, that you are out actively looking for grants for all different uses we might have in the county.
I would clarify that. It is not my responsibility to apply for grants on behalf of other departments. I have conversations with departments on their needs and I seek out grant funding opportunities for their departments. But past practice has been that other departments apply for grants on their own.
Okay.
And that has been the past practice, even with the previous consultant. The grant applications and programs that I'm involved with are supplemental, or I've been brought in to assist with them. So it is not my role to apply for a department unless they've communicated a need to me or the need is determined or evaluated by the executive's office. So I'm sure there are grant applications out there that I am not aware of because it is not my purview. to
Okay.
Intercede on other
Could have been the way it
departments.
was reported to us that we just assumed that that happened. So, okay, I was just curious about
Mhm.
that. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Samantha, I have a question if
Yes.
nobody else does. So I'm a person in Will County and I'm in danger of being evicted.
Mhm.
What is the best way for me to even find out what programs are available to me?
Well, our wonderful receptionist, Carol, at the executive's office has a wealth of information about programs that are available or the necessary contact. So if someone calls the county and says, I need help, our receptionist, Carol, does a wonderful job of referring those to either the applicable programs or the communicating information on where that information can be found. So she would be my first stop. And our Land Use Community Development Division does a lot of support for housing. So within the county, we do have a lot of support available to residents. Then there's also a number of different service agencies that we contract with or
Right,
that we
that you
outsource
partner
to. The Emergency Rental Assistance Program, we subcontract with the Will County Community Concern, Will
Center for
County Center
Communities.
for Community Concerns.
That's
Um,
usually where I refer people, by the way.
Yes,
so.
so they actually are subcontracted from the county to implement and pay the recipients for the ERA program. Our staff evaluates applications and is in court assisting residents, but the day-to-day management of the program is done by Will County Center for Community Concerns. So there's a
Okay.
number of different community organizations.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Joe, go ahead.
Something just came to mind that Ms. Ogala just said about, I want to refer this to the child care program. And you said there's only two simple qualifications to be the DCFS qualified and also taking care of children 0 to 5. I wonder if there is some type of registry through the state of Illinois or the state of Will County that those folks are registered, how hard it would be to contact them and let them know that these grants are available. Is that something that we do? Would we
Yes.
consider?
I've already contacted DCFS and I have an active list of current licensed DCFS
Perfect.
providers, and that's who I sent the information
Oh, that's,
initially.
yeah,
great.
perfect. So
Yes.
there you go. Great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Okay, next up is our corporate fund year-end report. Rashawn, take it away. Oh, I gotta turn you on. There we go.
Good morning, still morning, everyone. So I will be presenting the FY24 year-end corporate fund budget to actual report. And I won't go through everything word for word, but just will kind of do a high-level overview of our revenue and expenses and how we ended the fiscal year ending on November 30th. So our fiscal year ended November 30th. However, we still continue to record fiscal year 2024 financial activity through our lapse period, which ended on February 28th. As you can see, the table under revenue by category, our columns are broken out by revenue by category, our 2024 budget. The middle column is the 2024 actual, and the third column is the comparison from the previous year. You'll note that actual revenue realized from all of our revenue categories totaled 266.3 million. Of that, property taxes, we exceeded budget by 101% of revenue realized. This is due to better than expected results from our delinquent tax sale. Under license and permits, came in under budget. However, overall revenue realized was 98% due to favorable results in building and zoning and special use permits. Intergovernmental revenue met budget with 99% of revenue realized due to favorable results in shared revenues such as gaming, sales tax revenue, and sales and state income tax, intergovernmental agreements and reimbursements. Charges for services exceeded budget due to favorable results in judicial fees, Sunny Hill Nursing Home fees, land use fees, treasurer fees. I'm just going to say the various fees collected under charges for
Yes.
services. On the next page, under fines and forfeitures, this came in under budget. We had, and this is based on actual revenue collected by the circuit clerk's office. As you recall, we're no longer collecting bond forfeitures and refunds. We actually issued a refund in 24. So that would be the variance in that category. However, on the other side of that, our interest revenue exceeded budget by 5.8 million. So you'll see that our actual actual interest realized was 7.8 million for 24. Overall, the percentage of revenue realized is 98%. And then you can see the revenue graph below. 40% of the revenue comes from property taxes, 34% comes from intergovernmental revenue, 12% comes from charges for services. On the expense side, expenses by category, you'll note the expenses listed there. Year-to-date actual expenses were 259.6 million. You'll note overall, with all of the expenses, we came in under budget at 95% of the budget expended, and this is below the targeted range for 12 months of activity, which was 100%. The next page shows our expenses, the graph of expenses with 73% of the revenue of the expenses, coming from personnel salaries and benefits. And then you can see the expense by department, and this shows the 12 months of activity or 100% of the budget expended by department. And the departments that are highlighted in gray are just over 100%, and we have about 5 of those, and those are mostly in salaries. The next page is our cash balance. So the cash balance at November 30th was 89.9 million or 32.8% for our cash reserves. And with that, also included in your packet is a detailed system generated revenue and expense budget to actual report for your review, and I will open it up for any questions.
Rashawn, I have a question. What's our target cash balance in terms of a
So-
percentage?
So our cash reserve targeted balance, we need to fall between the 22% or 26%, 25%, excuse me, targeted range.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Access Will County quarterly report. Oh, okay, that one, there's no presentation. That's just for your information. So everyone, please take a look at that And if you have questions, let me know. Okay, moving on to other old business, we have none. So new business, number one, authorizing county executive to execute necessary documents for delinquent tax program. Can I get a motion? Roll call? Oh, sorry. I am so sorry.
Ortiz? Yes. Oxley?
Yes.
Newquist?
Yes.
Williams? Richmond? Motion carries.
Thank you. Number two, appropriating funds in the animal protection services budget. Can I get a motion? Second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Number three, appropriating grant funds in the health department budget. Motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Number four, authorizing use of contingency funds for Heritage Corridor. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Do you have a previous roll? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Other new business, we have none. Public comment? Is there any public comment?
Excuse me, Sherry.
Oh, sorry.
Sir, I believe you have a presenter for number 4. Do you have? Are you gonna-
Mike, were you going, do we have a presenter? Oh, I didn't
Yes.
realize that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate the funding though, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks. I didn't know that, Prue.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
If I may, Madam Chair, just quickly, we're going to switch over the system to another computer now, so there may be a slight interruption online for anybody who's listening. Just be aware the audio will come back up after we're finished.
Thank you.
You're giving a packet, a handout of some materials. Also, the presentation is gonna be broad. Good morning. My name is Bob Navarro. I'm with Heritage Corridor Destinations. Appreciate your time this morning. And wanted to tell you a little bit about the program that we have planned for Will County and your investment. First, I'm going to show you a video. Oh, wait a minute.
Tourism has a direct and enormous economic impact every day, right here in our communities. Travelers to Heritage Corridor region generate not only tax dollars, but also jobs and new investment. Tourism has the power to revitalize a destination's economy and reshape the future. At Heritage Corridor Destinations, our mission is to bring these visitors to your community to spend their time and money. Since 1984, Heritage Corridor has served as an economic catalyst and resource for tourists and residents, secured millions of dollars in grant funds to create and execute advertising programs and assist with destination development, supported jobs in the hospitality industry. When we connect, visitors to the Heritage Corridor region spend over $1.3 billion, return over $115 million of both local and state tax receipts, secure over 10,800 jobs, and secure over $381 million in payroll, all in the Heritage Corridor. We extend your marketing reach to bring visitors and money from outside of your community inside. Connecting with Heritage Corridor Destinations grows your business, strengthens economic vitality, builds a strong tax base, establishes a solid community, and helps create memories that ignite laughter and visitation. When we work together to create a place that people want to visit, we ignite a powerful machine driving economic development in your community. Heritage Corridor Destinations was recently awarded renewed DMAP accreditation, an industry-leading and internationally recognized program that signifies that Heritage Corridor Destinations has obtained a significant measure of success. If you're committed to true economic development, partner with the Heritage Corridor today. Contact us at 1-800-926-CANAL or online at hcdestinations.com. We look forward to working with you.
That's our little promo video. So I want to give you some updated numbers from what you saw in the video. Just specifically in Will County, visitors are spending about $1 billion in our county for attractions, retail, hotels, food and beverage, and that sort of thing. And so that's significant. Past Cook County, Will County is the 4th largest producer for visitor expenditures in the state of Illinois. In your folders, you have one of these little tip cards. On the back are specific numbers for Will County. So you can see what visitors are spending, what that's generating in payroll, number of jobs. There are almost 9,000 jobs that can be attributed to the tourism industry here in the county. And so if you need more of these cards for some of your other groups that you're part of, let me know. We can get these to you, but there is a card in your folder about these tourism expenditures. So total collectively in the region, we have about 1.6 billion that visitors are spending in our 6 counties. A little bit about who's coming to Will County. For this slide here, the numbers are what we use to calculate a visitor is they need to be in destination for 2 hours or longer. They have to come from 50 miles or greater. And that's how we used, those are not numbers that we use, or metrics that we use to calculate this next slide here. So who's visiting in Will County? 74% of the people that are visiting Will County are coming from outside the state of Illinois, which is significant. And the largest demographic age is 45 to 54 years old, or is the age group that's coming here to Will County. Where are they coming to us from? Beyond Chicago, certainly our largest number of visitors are coming from Chicago area, but beyond Chicago, within the state of Illinois, they're coming from Peoria and Bloomington. So that's significant regarding Peoria and Bloomington are the 2 largest demographics within the state. Outside the state, Milwaukee and St. Louis. So that kind of makes sense regarding those metro markets. What are they doing when they come to Will County? You might find this interesting that the number 1 destinations for the county is the malls, the Lewis Joliet Mall shopping, Medewa, National Tallgrass Prairie. The casinos are those 3 are on the top. Then we also have Mistwood, Bolingbrook Golf Course, and then Clow International Airport. Regarding visitor spend, what visitors are spending specifically in Will County, of the total amount that a visitor is spending, 7% is going to restaurants, 10% is going to retail, and 11% is going to attractions. So those are significant numbers. And then where are visitors spending these dollars? This is the last bubble over here. Beyond Joliet, I'm going to take Joliet out of the mix because most of the visitors are spending here in Joliet. But beyond Joliet, we've got Bolingbrook, Romeoville, New Lenox, and Frankfort. Those are the 4 largest communities outside of Joliet of where visitors are spending their dollars. So wanted to share some of those stats with you so you have them. You saw in the video just a little bit about our organization. We're in our 41st year. We are DMAP accredited. We're 10 years in the DMAP program, which is Destination International does an accreditation program in 17 different points regarding staffing and budgeting and marketing, all these different points, and we submit information to be accredited. So that's in your packet as well. I'm going to share a video about about Route 66. Yeah. All right, well, this next video is about Route 66, so I'll email you. I know the meeting's getting long, so we'll just keep going here. So I want to talk a little bit about Route 66. Route 66 is celebrating 100 years in 2026, and that is significant. We're one of 8 states that are celebrating the centennial of Route 66. Route 66 is about 2,400 miles. Illinois has about 300 of those miles. I cover the first 100 miles from Chicago down to Pontiac. We know that when visitors are traveling, 75% of those visitors are stopping at a historical and cultural attractions, of which are scenic byways. Route 66 is one of them. We have 7 scenic byways in Illinois, and 2 of them run through Will County. We've got Route 66 as well as the Illinois Lincoln Highway. Talk a little bit about Route 66. It's the newest of the 7 scenic byways, and it was designated in 2005. The byway supports 92 different communities between Chicago and the Chain of Rocks Bridge down near Alton. I actually sit on the byway board. We meet every other month to bring in communities into what they're doing. There's a lot ramping up regarding the centennial and what's happening. But also the byway feeds into our brand of the first 100 miles. If you're going to start a road trip or a Route 66 experience, we want to start in the first 100 miles. We want to start in our communities, so from Chicago down to Pontiac. So we own that brand. If you've seen that little logo down there, that's our brand. That's part of how we promote Route 66, not just here domestically, but also internationally. And then the other logo there, that's for the Byway Board, just if you've seen that on things. So our first 100 miles brand, what anchors the brand obviously is the website, but we also have a publication, a travel publication, which I put in your packets. On the cover of that publication is Darlene Newman, who did a half-hour TV show here in Illinois, and she spent quite a bit of time in our first 100 miles. We're actually bringing her back for the Tourism Summit that you folks are sponsoring in April. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the slide. But with our first 100 miles brand, it's really important that we have evergreen content on the site. So although there may be some events and things on the site, we really want to tell those stories. We want people to come back to that content. And so we populate the site with quite a bit of evergreen content regarding attractions and dining and shopping. We also support the site through advertising. We do both paid advertising, but we also partner with some of our other entities to increase traffic to the site. You'll see here, so in the bottom right corner is Samantha Brown. We also paid and brought Samantha Brown to Illinois, and she did a half-hour show in Illinois, and that's her at the Polka Dot Drive-In there. So the first 100 miles, as I mentioned before, is really an integrated marketing approach. We do traditional print through the travel guide. We have the website. We also do digital with social media and paid advertising, but we also participate in different activations and trade shows, both domestically and internationally. When the state of Illinois goes internationally to promote Illinois, and Route 66 is one of their top destination drivers to Illinois. So beyond Chicago, it's pretty much Route 66 and then Lincoln. And so we want to have a seat at that table when Illinois is going out on the road and promoting Illinois outside of the state. Specifically regarding the Will County projects, this is what we put together. I've divided the money up into 2 different buckets. The first is product development. We want to we're going to open a retail store here in Will County that's going to generate visitor traffic as well as retail sales tax. And then we're going to do provide mobile visitor services. So I'm going to talk more about what that means, not just throughout the county, but moving people in and outside the county as well. The second part of the projects will include advertising and marketing. There'll be some different website support, some ad insertions for the county, and then this tourism summit that is going to happen in April. So the first is product development. We have identified a location. We're partnering with the City of Wilmington, the Joliet Area Historical Museum, and the Wilmington Park District to open a retail shop in Wilmington right behind the Gemini Giant. So of course, the store is going to carry Gemini Giant memorabilia, Route 66 memorabilia, Route 66 Centennial memorabilia, but we're also going to identify some products that are made in Illinois and specifically here in Will County that we'll be able to highlight in the retail location. The retail location will also have visitor maps and brochures and things like that. But we're looking to be open in May. So just a short period of time here to get that store open. The other part of product development is this mobile visitor center. So this is just a mock-up. We didn't purchase anything just yet, but we're looking at getting a vehicle similar to this that we would wrap with Will County information. It will be equipped with brochure racks. We can use it at parades, festivals, take it into different communities. We can bring people from other communities into Will County, and then certainly we can move people within the county, whether we're doing a fam tour and going to hotels and attractions, or that we're just doing progressive meal group tours and things like that. So the vehicle could be used for a variety of different activations to generate some of those visitor activities. Regarding the advertising and marketing, the funds will pretty much anchor the visitwill.com website. The organization that previously had Visit Will has folded. We now own that site. And so we're going to put that, there's so much built up regarding that brand, we didn't want to lose it. So we're going to put some dollars in there, rebuild the site a little bit, and start to continue to promote that site. The other is to have an increased presence on the first100miles.com, which is the Route 66 brand that we own and promoting Route 66 here for the county. The bottom left site is our Heritage Corridor site. So you're currently on there already, and we'll make sure that continues and you have an enhanced presence on there. And the bottom right is one of the logos for the new store in Wilmington. So the name of the store will be called The Landing Pad, and the website is thelandingpadil.com. Don't rush to your computers because it's not up yet. We just own the site right now. Regarding ad placements, there's just a few limited dollars that we're going to put towards ad placements. How many have been to Springfield to the Gate 2 experience, the Route 66 experience at the fairgrounds? Anyone? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike. So at the fairgrounds, there's a year-round Route 66 attraction featuring a lot of the different activities, communities that are along all the 300 miles that Illinois has offers with a Route 66. So we're looking at giving Will County an enhanced presence at the fairgrounds. There's limited opportunities to have electronic billboards, static billboards, also some advertising opportunities in some of the different buildings. Each building kind of tells a story about the communities within that range. And if you haven't visited the experience, it's just truly amazing. There's a whole section about the giants, which are Gemini Giant is one of the giants, but they tell the story a little bit about the giants. There's a neon sign park, but then again, each building kind of tells the story of different communities within like maybe a 25-50 mile stretch. And so we're gonna give Will County an enhanced presence at the Gate 2 experience through 2026. So the funds will last not just in 2025, but 2026, and then also give you some presence on the Scenic Byway printed guide, and I put a copy of that guide in your packets. So here's some pictures from the Route 66 experience. When you're coming in the Gate 2 area, it's all themed Route 66. So you're seeing the top right, the neon park. This is one of the first buildings that people go to kind of orientate themselves to the exhibit. And then you'll see the exterior sign there for the fairgrounds. The last component that we put together is Will County. So everyone's asking what's going on for the centennial, what's being planned. So we put together with a variety of stakeholders the summit, and you folks are the lead sponsor of the summit. So the summit will feature Bill Thomas from the Road Ahead Initiative Partnership. He is the chair of all 8 states as the 8 states get together and decide, what they're planning for Route 66 Centennial. So he is one of the featured speakers. We have Casey from the Scenic Byway, Corey Jobe, who chairs the Illinois Route 66 Centennial Commission, and then also Darley Newman's going to come back, and she's going to close out the afternoon, show her half-hour show. She's got some blooper that she's going to show and do a little Q&A with the audience. So she's coming in from New York to close out the Centennial Summit. Do mark your calendars, April 10th. Pretty much all day. It's going to start 9:30 in the morning with some educational information about Route 66, and then go into a variety of speakers. You can scan that QR code there and register. I can get you all signed up and get a hold of me. But April 10th, Thursday, and going to be a great day to bring everyone up to speed on what's happening here in Illinois regarding Route 66. So this is a breakdown of the budget. I was asked to submit that on how we're going to use the funds. And so you can see what's going into product development versus advertising and marketing and how we're going to spend the dollars. So again, celebrating 100 years with the Centennial and be able to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. It looks exciting.
Thank you.
Okay, other new business. We have none. Public comment. Does anyone have a public comment? Going 3 times public comment? Okay, announcements report by the chair. I have no announcements other than our next meeting is scheduled for April 1st, 2025. We have no need for an executive session, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you. We are